former Eagle, Super Bowl champion Barrett Brooks, of course, Comcast Sportsnet pre- and post-game live. You saw him on the pregame and the post-game show, and he joins us for Barrett's Breakdown every Monday on the Sports Bash. And Barrett, let's start with the offensive line. A lot of people liked them. A lot of people thought this would be a strength. Some people thought a top 5 line in the league. Are you concerned after seeing the preseason and now week 1, where I didn't think they played all that well?
No, I'm not, and others should just calm down a little bit. It's not time to throw those guys away or anything like that. We have to understand that those guys on the other side of the ball get paid too. Number 2, you have a quarterback that likes to hold the ball. A lot of the times he went into this scramble mode, it was because he held the ball too long. Each player is designed at a drop back of 3, 5 to 7 yards. And at times he would go back, come back in, run around a little bit, and you expect the offensive line to keep these guys out for that long. It's just not going to happen. 5 seconds is more than enough time for any pass play to get off. He would hold the ball way more than that. So as a casual fan, sit back and watch. Count on your hands, count in your mind. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And if Wentz still has the ball, it's a problem.
Aaron, Wentz holding that football, is that on Wentz or is that on Peterson's play design?
I think it's a little bit of both. I think that they trust him enough to run around like that, but it's also by design. I'm going to coin this right now, and I'm going to tell people, and it'll get out, and people will see what I'm talking about. The reason why they run so much play action is not because they're trying to fool the defense into a run play. They're not trying to bring up the linebackers or anything like that. They run a lot of play action because it allows them to keep extra men in on protection. When you run play action, it keeps the tight ends in, it keeps the running backs in, which allows you by design to get receivers out on longer routes. And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to take the top off. They're trying to get plays that develop, with long pass patterns. And that's what's going on. It's not necessarily they're trying to run the ball, play action the ball to get the linebackers to bite up or anything like that, or give even the illusion that they want to run the ball. First play of the game was a play action pass. They're trying to get these long developing routes, and they don't want to call max protection. So what do? You call play action passes, which allows you to keep more blockers in and get the ball out on longer pass plays. That's what's going on, guys. There's no need to be, jumping off the bridge or anything right now. We won, but people need to understand how designed play calling is going on with the Eagles at this point.
How about Peterson's design in the call plays? 1, 2, 3 throw is kind of what the quick stuff is that Andy Reid used to design and other guys used to design. Do you think that they need to reconfigure the play calls to get that ball out faster and let the weapons make those plays?
Well, you know what? I think that they want to go down the field. They want to use Smith's speed. They want to take the top off the defense. They're trying to open up the middle of the field so guys like Zach Ertz and Sproles can work in the interior. I'll tell you what. If you look at what they did yesterday, it just goes to show that they have a lot of confidence in Nelson Aguilar, and he worked the middle of that field. But that's only because they got that 8th defender out of the box and over the top with those 2 passes. It's not necessarily that you're going to hit the long pass to Torrey Smith, but it's more so, okay, they might throw it, which will take that defender out, which gives a lot more room for those guys on the inside to work in between the hashes, the Zach Ertz, the Nelson Aguilar, the Sproles. Those are the pass plays they're trying to hit. They're not necessarily trying to go over the top, but just that illusion that they give the defense opens up a whole playbook for those guys, even in the running game. So I think by play design, they're not going to go with this short passing game anymore. I think he really wants to go down the field with it.
Barrett Brooks is with us for Barrett's Breakdown. Don't forget to check out Barrett on the pre- and post-game show on Comcast Sportsnet. You mentioned the running game. I didn't see much of it.
Well, you know what? And I'm going to tell you the truth. Everybody's on LeGarrette Blount and his stats. I think his stats don't really tell the tale of what went on yesterday. I thought he played pretty well. See, I'm a big proponent of understanding how to run the ball and when to run the ball. I remember I had Jerome Bettis and not really putting him in the same category as Jerome Bettis. But anytime you can hand it off to a back and he'll fall for 3 yards, fall for 4 yards, it gives you an opportunity to get those second and shorts. You have that opportunity there. Yesterday they passed too much on first and second down, which led to a lot of 3rd and 10s, 3rd and 12s. It just puts your offense in an awkward position when you're going from that from 3rd and long all the time. Run the ball a little bit. When they did get the ball to Blunt, you get 3 yards here, 5 yards here, and another 5 yards there. That's a first down. Continue to feed this guy, and I tell you what, if you feed him a little more, give him 15 carries a game, now the defense they don't want to tackle a guy that's 260 pounds.
No, and I agree with you there, specifically when they're up 13-0. At that point, it's like, yo, you got the lead 13-0. Let me see you take the heart out of this team a little bit. They gave the heart and stuck it right back in their chest because they kept throwing the damn ball.
Exactly, and and if you look at Blunt started getting a little bit too, and then when play action opened up, it gave them an opportunity. That's how he scored, because he's in the backfield, gave them the illusion that they might run the ball. He was able to get out and outflank the linebacker for the touchdown. It just goes to show Doug knows what he's saying, but he just doesn't implement it at all times.
Well, you bring up Doug knowing what he's doing and saying and all that stuff. He was under a lot of criticism the week leading into the ball game. How do you think his play calling was overall coming out of the ball game?
Still way too much pass, way too many pass plays. I really think that he wants to it, but if you look at it, running the ball is just not the vogue thing to do, and he's definitely not buying into it. Until he buys into it, this team is going to really suffer a little bit because of that. You have to establish the run. You have to establish something that can open up those guys on the outside. We have really good receivers now, but we're not putting them in good positions because now they can still double-team guys now. If you run the rock, it takes that away. It takes it away, and we're not doing that.
Really good receivers you mentioned. You buying into Aguilar? Is he a legitimate part of the offense now?
I think he is. I think Nelson is, but I really don't think that we went to Alshon nearly enough. I mean, when they did go to him, he didn't show that catch radius that I thought he had. I mean, there was a couple of times where he should have went up and Debo'd the ball. I didn't see that. It almost looked like I was looking at DGB out there for a little bit. Then I caught myself. And then towards the end of the game, Alshon got into it. But, they're paying him a lot of money to go up and catch balls and take it away from smaller DBs, and I didn't see that near enough yesterday.
Zach Ertz was a big part of the game. I like to see that. But I thought Torrey Smith's presence was felt. Even though the numbers weren't there, isn't Torrey Smith why Zach Ertz and Nelson Aguilar do the damage underneath? Because they had to pay attention, something the Eagles have not had since Jackson left.
Exactly, and that's exactly what went on. That's why just giving that illusion of a guy going over the top and having the ability to score at any point just gives that defense something else to look at. They could no longer look back and be like, all right, we're not worried about anybody going over the top because, number one, they're not going to catch it. Number two, they're not running past anybody. They have legit speed now that can take the top off. And when I say legit speed, I'm also talking about Nelson. Nelson's probably one of the best route runners on the team. He's shown the ability to get behind the defense now. Now when you're game planning as a defensive coordinator, you have to account for him. You have to account for Smith now. Defensive coordinators now looking like, oh, my goodness, we don't have Barry now. Barry's our best DB as far as, being a safety. How am I going to contain Smith? Are we going to be able to contain Smith? Do we have to bring somebody into the box to stop a Blunt? I don't know what's going on with, how you stop that tandem right there. But, if we don't use Blunt in the run game, it's going to take a lot from us using Smith over the top.
We'll talk with Barrett Brooks here. Barrett's breakdown. Let's flip over to the defensive side of the ball. I thought, early in the game, Barrett, I thought Cousins missed on a couple. They got behind the Eagles defenders, and Cousins missed on a few. I thought they settled in, but is that because the secondary played well, or is that because Graham, Curry, Long, Cox, Jernigan, is that because of those guys?
It's definitely because those guys up front. If you look at it, a lot of the time, you're right, the DBs weren't beat. They were beat a lot on the slants because they play so far off. I don't understand why they play so far off on these receivers. But they play so far off that you can beat them on a slant all day long. And I think that's what happened towards the end of the game. The Washington Redskins started throwing slants, throwing these short patterns, knowing that these DBs are going to play so far off. And they don't change it up either. They could at least come up a little bit or back off, then come up real fast. They didn't do that at all. They played 8 yards off, and you can't do that. It's just like a run play. You throw it out a little slant, here's 5 yards. I'll take that all day. Well, that's exactly what's happened. What what I saw from Schwartz that really changed my mind as far as him being a defensive coordinator. He had the ability to turn up the heat on key times. The third down, all the picks that they had were third down when he brought pressure, one more than they had to block, which made Cousins speed his throwing patterns up, and then that's what happened. That's how these guys were able to make plays on the outside because number one, you got a defense rushing very, very well the guys up front, and then you bring that one extra blocker. You can't double team guys, and that's why Cox had the sack he had. They couldn't. They lined him up on one side, took him outside, and brought the blitz on the inside, which left him one-on-one against the tackle, and he beat him for a sack fumble.
Barrett Brooks with us. Hey, BB, last week we had a question up on our Twitter poll about Brandon Graham and how many sacks he would end up the season with, and basically we're kind of projecting an over-under. Can you put into words and tell the listeners how well Graham played and why he's so tough for opposing teams to deal with?
Well, I mean, just look at what he brings to the table. He's just an intense guy. He goes 100% all the time, and he's going to fall into a lot of plays. Not just because of his intensity, but he now has somebody to compliment on the other side. And I'm not necessarily talking about Barnett or Curry on the other side. I'm really talking about Timmy Jernigan. He's shown the ability to press that pocket, and now quarterback can't just step up like they used to do last year. They have to get pressed back because he's pressing up the middle, and along with Cox pressing up the middle, now this quarterback has nowhere to go but take the sack from Brandon Graham. Remember, he used to step up all the time, and he'd be right there to make the play. Well, now Jernigan and Cox are rushing the passer, and they're collapsing that pocket so much that he can't step up. And now he's right there where Brandon Graham can grab him. Same thing happened with Cox. Like I said, he couldn't step up because Jernigan on the other side, they brought the blitz on the other side, which kept him from stepping up, and Cousins got hit a lot because of that. Those interior two are really, really making a difference on this pass rush because they're so good. You have to pick your poison. Are you going to double-team Cox or are you going to double-team Jernigan? Each time each one guy got double-teamed on one side, the guy on the other side will make a difference and beat the guy one-on-one. So you can't block him one-on-one. It just goes to show that you now have Schwartz's defensive line to complement what he wants to do as a defensive coordinator.
How did you think the secondary held up, Barrett, given the fact that Ronald Darby went down and it looks like he's going to miss some time?
I really think that this defensive line has to step it up even more so now. I thought they were lost when Darby went down. They were lost for a couple of snaps. They didn't know where to line up. They didn't know who was going to be where. And then they had some guys playing out of position. There's no way in the world that we should have Watkins out there by himself at corner. Robinson, he played well, but I don't think that, you can line up, Watkins out there one-on-one. He's not a guy that you can do that.
Bear, a couple things. Doug Peterson was questioned over the weekend, the comments last week, and then there was this report that Jim Schwartz is kind of undermining him. And how difficult is that kind of stuff to hear? You played, I'm sure, went through a lot of controversy and heard things getting ready for games. I was pretty impressed by the way that they looked prepared for the most part with all this distraction going on.
Well, if you look at it, it kind of goes hand in hand. Schwartz wants to be a head coach again. The only way he can do that is if these guys play well. And, if they play well, it makes Doug look good. So the chance of taking Doug's place is slim to none. So I really think that, there is some where there's smoke, there's fire. So there is something, about them saying that. And the players, if whoever it is, they should have stepped up. You just can't say that in silence and, or not really step up and say it. They're wrong for that. But there, where there's smoke, there's fire. And, if you listen to Doug today, Doug didn't just cancel it out. He's like, no, what are you talking about? This is my locker room. This is my thing. He didn't say it like that. He said, we have a good working relationship. We talk several times during the week. That's not what you want to hear. If it's my team and somebody was saying that, I'll be like, what are you talking about? This is my team. I'd have been very adamant about that. I'm not worried about my defensive coordinator coming and taking my job. That's why he's here to help me out. He didn't say it like that. It wasn't a lot of confidence in the way he said it. He said, well, we talk a lot during the week. We talk a lot, about certain concepts. I'm like, that doesn't sound too convincing to me. So, like I said, where there's smoke, there's fire. Hopefully it doesn't, get to a point where, it splits the team.
Barrett's breakdown with us here, breaking it all down. And I guess last, when you break it down, was this an impressive victory for you? You look back at this game and say, you know what, I'm impressed by what I saw. Or was it, a game where they beat a team that maybe at the end of the year isn't very good?
No, I think it's absolutely great for this team to go out and win. They learned how to win a close game. Last year, they would have lost this game. They learned how to win a close game. And, that we need to understand that that's huge. That's big. This team is learning how to win. They learn how to come together. They learn how to, go with the next man up. The fact that Big V came in during game type of situations and still played well enough for the offense to still work just goes to show they're comfortable with him. They're comfortable with their running. And, this team is now ready to take a step forward in the progression in becoming a winning team. And that's what they needed. They needed this win to get them out of from underneath the thumb of the Washington Redskins. Now they know they can beat them. Now they know they can just about beat anybody now. So this is a great learning experience for them. And as they progress forward, they're going to need times where they're going to have to win close games, ugly games. They just hope they're not all ugly.
All right, Barrett's breakdown here. As you heard, the offensive line, some issues there. Hopefully that gets cleaned up. The run game, need to see more of it. And the defense really stepping up, especially in the absence of Ronald Darby, who looks like he'll be out at least 4 to 6 weeks, which I guess is better than what that video looked like, because it looked like that was a pretty ugly. And that's one of those things where it was just a non-contact freak injury, right? I've heard a lot that the turf down there is not very good.
Well, he stepped on a guy's ankle. He stepped on a guy's foot and twisted his ankle. So man, it happens. This is just the nature of the game. So he stepped on somebody's foot. It's just a game in which it's very intense and you're running fast, and there's going to be some contact. That's going to allow you to get hurt sometimes. So hopefully they can get him back into the fold. I heard rumblings, that they want to get their second-round pick to come in and play. He won't play, with Achilles. It's like a year injury. He won't be back this year. I can almost guarantee that. And for them to put him on the pup list, I don't understand that. Why would you want to rush this young man back? He can't get in shape, after these 6 games. He can't be, going out there and messing something else up. It might not be that his Achilles. It might be the other Achilles. Usually they go hand in hand. Once you do one, usually the other one follows soon afterwards. If you don't go ahead and let it heal fully, so we don't want that. Hopefully they let Sidney Jones stay in almost like a redshirt year and come back next year ready to roll in 2018.
He's Barrett Brooks. We'll talk to him with Barrett's breakdown after every Eagles game right here. And don't forget to check him out on Comcast Sportsnet's pre- and post-game live. Thanks, BB.
Thanks a lot, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.